In August of 1977, Elvis Presley was just days away from stepping back on stage. A new tour had already been scheduled, and despite everything happening behind the scenes, the plan was clear. The show would go on. To the public, Elvis was still the king. His name still filled arenas, and his legacy remained untouched. But behind the spotlight, something felt different. Those close to him began noticing changes, subtle at first, but impossible to ignore. His energy wasn't the same. His movements were slower. His presence, once dominant, now seemed distant. And yet, no one could have imagined how close he was to the end. In the days leading up to his death, Elvis was mostly staying inside Graceland. His routine had become increasingly irregular. He would often stay awake throughout the night and sleep during the day. This pattern had been part of his life for years, but now it seemed more intense. Sleep didn't come easily anymore. Even when he tried to rest, his body resisted. The nights felt long, heavy, and restless. To manage this, he relied on prescribed medications, something that had become a normal part of his daily life. Just days before August 16th, Elvis was preparing for his upcoming tour. Rehearsals had been discussed, and there were expectations that he would return to the stage soon. But those around him could see the contrast. On one side, the responsibility. On the other, a man clearly exhausted. Some reports from people in his circle described him as unusually quiet, less engaged, more withdrawn. Still, Elvis remained committed. Even in his condition, he didn't cancel. He kept moving forward. One of the most revealing aspects of those final days was his physical condition. Elvis had gained weight, and his stamina had noticeably decreased. During his last performances in June 1977, fans had already started to notice changes. His voice was still powerful, but his body struggled to keep up. By August, that decline had continued. Walking, standing, even simple movements required more effort than before. It wasn't just fatigue, it was something deeper. Despite everything, Elvis wasn't completely disconnected. He still spent time with people close to him. He had conversations, watched television, and tried to maintain some sense of normal life inside Graceland. But there was a growing sense of isolation. The outside world felt distant, almost unreachable. The mansion, once a symbol of success, had become a closed environment, and inside it, Elvis seemed increasingly alone. Another important detail from those final days was his ongoing struggle with health issues. He had been dealing with high blood pressure, digestive problems, and chronic fatigue. Doctors continued prescribing medications to manage these conditions, but the combination of different prescriptions created a dangerous situation. It wasn't one single issue, it was the accumulation of many. Elvis's relationship with sleep became one of his biggest challenges. In the days before his death, insomnia played a major role in his routine. He would stay awake late into the night, sometimes until early morning hours. This disrupted not only his rest, but also his physical recovery. His body was never fully recharging. There were also moments where Elvis appeared reflective, almost as if he was aware that something wasn't right. People close to him later described a sense of heaviness in his behavior, not dramatic, not obvious, but present. He wasn't the same man from years before. Something had changed, and it was visible. Just days before his death, Elvis was still planning ahead. Future shows, travel, commitments. On paper, everything looked normal, but reality told a different story.
His body was under stress, and the warning signs were already there. As August 15th approached, the atmosphere inside Graceland remained calm. There were no major events, no dramatic incidents, just a continuation of the same routine. Late nights, difficulty sleeping, quiet conversations. Nothing that would suggest what was about to happen. That night, Elvis once again struggled to sleep. He stayed awake for hours, moving through the night as he had done so many times before. The house was quiet, almost still. Everything felt normal, at least on the surface, but this time, things would not end the same way. In the early hours of August 16th, Elvis continued trying to rest. There were no signs of panic, no immediate danger, just another night that refused to end. Eventually, he went to the bathroom. A simple moment, routine, ordinary, but it would become the last moment of his life. Later that day, Elvis Presley was found unresponsive. Emergency services were called immediately. He was rushed to the hospital, but it was already too late. At just 42 years old, the king of rock and roll was gone. And suddenly, all those final days began to mean something more. Looking back, the signs were there. The exhaustion, the isolation, the dependence on medication. None of it happened overnight. It was a slow process, building over time. And those final days were not random. They were the result of everything that came before. Elvis Presley's last days were not filled with chaos, but with quiet warning signs that many didn't fully understand at the time. He was still planning, still moving forward, even as his body was reaching its limit. And maybe that's what makes this story so powerful, because sometimes the end doesn't come with noise. It comes in silence. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think people around Elvis should have done more to help him? Or was this something no one could have stopped? Leave your opinion in the comments. I read everything. And if you enjoy real stories like this, stories that show what truly happens behind the scenes, make sure to subscribe, because the next story might be even more shocking than this one.